hit record. All right, welcome to our Foundation 5 and Tier 1 office hours. And you've made it to like week 3. Angie and I were talking yesterday, and that is like, who's been feeling the opposition? Like, oh, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so glad you're showing up, and just my heart goes out to you because both of you have shared some things that have just been going on, and oh, my prayers are with you. And I just love how you keep showing up. Even it's the show up even though, right? Show up even though, and it's just there. And we feel that, like, they always say, okay, the hardest time, the goal is in the beginning, right? And I'm like, no, it's 3 weeks in. Oh no, now it's 60 days in, and then it's 90 days in. And so you're going to be feeling it on those different levels as you raise your level. You're going to feel that. What's going to happen though is just like when you work out and you're building those muscles, you're going to get stronger, right? And so your spiritual muscles are going to continue to strengthen and get stronger. And you'll be amazed at some of the things you're like, wow, that used to faze me. Now that doesn't faze me, right? And so, but it's okay to be fazed. It's okay. As I was reading weekly goal reviews, and when you have that pushback and you're like, no, I really have to take care of this family thing, please don't think that means you failed on your goal. Okay. I just want to say that because even if it's there and you're like, hey, I'm trying to work it out. And I love that Angie shared something with me yesterday about sometimes you feel like you're in the 11th hour and you're trying to get it done because that's when you get it done. But I really want to just share quickly sometimes that's because we have to let everything simmer for a little bit, right? We throw all the stuff in the pot and we let it simmer, and we call it the waiting space. Connie talks about it. She uses the word simmer. That's where I heard that from her. So you just let it simmer, 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 simmer. And then when it's ready and it's go. And suddenly it's there. And sometimes it's just like cooking that down until it's ready. So I'm like, okay, I might be in a simmering spot. I might be in a waiting place as I wait for that answer, or as I continue to research more and see what that is. So just thank you for showing up. So, and just so grateful, and just know that you are in our prayers. We put your names in the temple. And so if anytime something like that happens that you're like, I know sometimes we're afraid to share because we don't want people to think, oh, I'm always the one sharing, or I've got another thing. Like, other people have things to worry about. But I want you to know that as you share that you'll feel united, because you'll pray specifically, even if it's like, okay, please pray for me. And so I'm grateful that each of you do share when you do, and no, it's not a burden. It just strengthens all of us. So thank you for doing that. So, okay, coming back, we want to jump in. I want to hear your wins and learning this week. We want to hear what has gone well, even if you're like, okay, I didn't get my goal done, but what learning or wins did you feel like you came back and learned from or accomplished this week? I'd love to hear from you first and see where you're at. I think Angie's trying to unmute. Like, yeah, I wish I could unmute you, but I can't.
You're muted, Angie.
There we go.
There you go.
I couldn't fix my screen. My screen was like all just my big face in front of me. Okay, so I had huge wins. Like, I finally got my big thing, right? I finally got my quote thing done, and it feels good. And Wendy and I have been working on doing a retreat for the sisters and young women of the church. And it was crazy because we kept trying to think, where are we going to do it? We've got to do it fast. We're going to do it mid-November. And the other night, like, I was having like this weird dream, and all of a sudden, like, a flash of Rockwell High School popped up in my dream, right? I woke up the next morning, I was like, really? Rockwell? Like, it's like a dump of a school. Like, really? So anyway, that say anything. And Wendy and I met yesterday and she was like, Rockwell? I'm like, I know, right? And I was thinking somewhere a little more glamorous. And she was like, well, you better call on it, follow up. So I'm like, okay, I will. Tried to call yesterday all day long. Couldn't get anybody to answer me. So I called one of my friends that worked there and just said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And can you help me just I don't know who to even call. She's like, well, you're going to have to talk to Misty, but you're going to have to call the secretary first. Here's her number. I'm like, well, no one's answering. She's like, well, here's the secretary's email, because there's always a gatekeeper. I know that because I was one for a long time. So I thought, whatever, let me sit on it. And this morning I got up, I prayed about it and I called. And she's got on, Misty, the director, answered the phone. Weird, because they never do, right? I'm like, hey, listen, I'm wanting to do this event, with a friend of mine. It's Christ-centered, and we can't do it at a normal school, but I know that we can hold those at like a charter school, and I'm just wondering if you would be willing to let us hold it there. And she's like, well, do you have a nonprofit? And I'm like, actually, I do. I have a nonprofit. It's called Gifts of Joy from Jordan, and I can run some stuff through it if I need to. And she was like, okay. She said, weird, because I've been trying for 3 years to get the bondholders to approve letting us rent this building. And yesterday at 2:00, I just got approval.
Oh my goodness. I just felt chills go all the way down.
Yeah, she was like, so send me your proposal and I'll have it back to you in 2 days. So, and I've been struggling with my husband, like, love my family so much, but when I'm trying to stay like at a spiritual high, and like just the stuff that they say, and like, I can only caw for like, my voice is like going dead because I'm caw like all the time from his swearing. So finally last night, listen, dude, like, I love you, but like that doesn't work for me. Like, I can't have that in my house. At least just the F word. Please don't say that word. Like, I don't like our boys to say it, and they say it because you say it. Like, please don't say it. Like, I am fine with so many things. Like, I go to Wendover with you to gamble. Like, you have poker nights at our house. Like, I'm good with so many things, but on a day-to-day basis, just when you walk through our house, I want it to be a holy place. Like, it's my peaceful place. So please respect me. Oh, he was so mad at me. I was like, oh my gosh. So I started bawling and went in my closet, prayed last night, bawled and prayed this morning. And he called me at like 8:30. And he was like, listen, I'm not going to say it anymore. And I'll talk to the boys. He said, I understand where you're coming from. And I agree with you. I need to be a better example. And I was just like,
wow.
Like, so I told him, like, if you want me to do these things for you, like, I gotta have, you brought in all these beautiful ladies in my life and they are supporting me and it's amazing. But if I'm gonna do big events like this, help use our money and my time away from my family, I gotta have them on the same page as me. Like, at least somewhat. Like, I need them to support me. So I feel like today was like a little win that he is. So that was mine.
I love it. And you say little one, I'm like, that's a huge win. I mean, we have I can give him a whole list of words he can say that my kids say that they think are hilarious. We're like, just start saying fudgesicles, okay? My kids will say fudgesicles.
I was just thinking fudgesicles.
Awful. Like, he's the best person in the world. He was in prison, y'all. You know what I mean?
I do know. I have a family member who was there, and he'll tell you, he's like, it goes out the window.
Well, that works construction. He built houses, so it's just it's that culture in that area. And I'm like, listen, when you're outside of this house, you be who you want to be. Like, that's totally fine. Because he was like, well, I thought I could be me in this house. And like, you can be you in this house. Listen, I could be me and go to the grocery store, but I can't say the F word all over the place. I'm like, babe, like, it just, so he just didn't understand me, and he's come a long way. And he's like, I just feel like that it's just one more thing I have to work on, to be as good as you. And I'm like, it's not as good as me. Like, you're where you are and I'm where I am. I'm just asking you, like, what do you want me to do? Wait for you? You want to stop my growth and for me to stop growing, to wait for you to figure it out? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm going to keep going. And I've told you that, it's such a hard, fine line, because I don't want him to think I think I'm better than him, but it's my salvation. And only thing I could do is trust God that he'll soften my family's hearts and open their eyes. Like, that's it. Because that's all I could do. I'm not stopping.
And I love that you picked one thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you picked one thing to say, okay, like, let's just work on this one thing, and this one word, like, just the one word, like, can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And so,
one word. You can say any of the others, not the Lord's name in vain, and not the F word. Like, legit, like, I'm trying to work on my stuff in my office, and I'm listening to, he always has his phone on speaker, and him and one of his other buddies, I'm like, oh my, it's like the F word every other, like, you say it 15 times in one sentence, and that is not a joke. Like, it's too much for me.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't realize that it's coming out until somebody points it out. And so
it was good today. Like, it was good. He was like, I understand where you're coming from, and you're right. I'm wrong. And I was like, oh.
And sometimes, isn't it hard? Because in that moment, it's like that initial, I just said something, and then you have to wait. And then it has to work on there. I love that, Trisha, it becomes their right? That's so what it does. And we all have things like that we have. And when somebody comes and tells us that that's happening and it's bugging them, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the F word or it's something else that we do, it's hard to hear. But then usually I sit there, like, my husband will say something and I'll listen. I'm like, all right, he's right. Like, I could see it, okay. And am I willing to change it? And I'm willing to move forward on it. And so what a blessing. And I love that you called that school. I mean, just a miracle that happened 2:00 yesterday. No wonder you couldn't get through, because it wasn't the right time. Right.
Yeah. Yes. But that was a proof that, listen, like, if we're called to do something and we're doing it, he's going to find a way. He's going to make a way for us to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
And don't be scared. We just got to do it.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you, Angie. Okay. Jerusha, Taylor, any wins in learning for you?
I don't know. Sorry, that phone call just like kind of threw me through a loop. So maybe Drew's can go first. So
Everything okay? Everything okay?
Oh, it was my kids' school. So earlier this morning, I got a phone call that one of my kids busted his teeth at school. And then this phone call, I got a call. Apparently, so backstory, I get my daughter ready for school in the morning and I go take her, and then my husband has been getting my kids, like my boys, ready and then taking them because they're closer, because their schools start like super close, and my daughter's school is farther, so I drive her because it's like safer for me to take her. Well, I just get a phone call that apparently like 2 of my boys have been wearing the same outfits to school every single day for like the last week. So they're all worried like about their like hygiene and if we have like the needs for them, and like if they're taken care of, or if we like need help. And I'm like, breathe, Taylor. I was like, I swear, like, I changed them. And I'm so busy because after like I get home, I'm like running kids.
I'm like, can I just say, has anybody raised boys? I'm not lying. I just told my 18-year-old, I'm like, you're wearing the same outfit 3 days in a row. He's 18 and he did not go change. So this is not this is a boy thing.
And I was like, can I just like zoom you in my laundry room? And they're like, clothes. I was like, I swear to you, we have clothes. And I bathed them. I was like,
listen, I didn't even like, when there were certain times when I was doing Pony Express days, it was like all those events, the 10-day period. I just turned my kids' underwear inside out and they wore them because I didn't have time to do their laundry. So you know what? Oh well, like, it's fine.
Yeah,
start
you know
to
what?
work. She's like, well, we're just concerned. And if you guys like all your needs are met or if your husband's okay. And I was like, I appreciate it. But I was like, he really loves his Paw Patrol shirt. So maybe he just wants to wear his Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol shirt.
I was like, I don't even see them like in the morning because I'm gone taking other kids to school.
You know, it's so that morning of like, you're like, okay, breathe. I'm grateful they're trying to take care of it. I'm grateful for certain people. I'm grateful, like, but then you're like, really? Like, that's me. It's like, have you ever dressed a boy? Like, really, they're boys. Like, my daughter is different. I have to tell her, I'm like, oh, that's thing, but she'll change her outfit 10 times in a day. My boys will wear the same outfit every stinking day.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like, you slept in that and now you're wearing it. And now I'm like,
Yes, like I literally have to beg them to get pajamas on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I swear they put pajamas on, so I assume they put clean clothes on.
You know, the thing is if they wear something different, you probably get a phone call and say, is your son here today? And you're like, he's wearing a different shirt.
I'm sorry, I just like kind of got like thrown through a loop.
Oh, we're with you on this. Like,
It's just like that morning.
That's actually pretty normal. Taylor, you're doing fine.
Right. Oh, geez. Okay, write that one down as a story to share because that is a good one. As like frustrating as it is, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll be funny in a day or two.
I'm like, Drew, just like hide those clothes. I'm like, yeah, I have things I can't. Like, yeah,
Like DI pile.
right. Yeah. They'll find it though, or they'll have a massive fit. So it's like, which one? Yeah.
Right.
Gosh. So yeah. You're like, just add that to my growing stack of whatever. Right. So, oh my gosh. Well, hang in there. As moms, we got you. We're just going to send more Paw Patrol shirts. Right. Oh my goodness. Oh, all right. Drew, should you want to share any wins in learning?
Yeah, I'll
okay.
share. I know Taylor has wins. I'm gonna just give her a minute to, because we all need that. And honestly, Taylor, if it were me, I'd be like, let's find an indoor pool and go have a fun family activity. And then, they all have to get wet. And then, oh, you have to shower because the chlorine. And then they got to change their clothes, right? I mean,
There we go.
make it fun. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know what to tell you. We're all moms and it's like, yeah, been there. It's not an easy gig. So I have, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm listening to Taylor and Angie and I'm like, well, mine just went out the window. But I have an appointment with Britt Benyon this week because I got on right away and scheduled with Tasha and Britt. And she has this like quiz that you take for your style. And my first thought was, oh, great. Because I don't normally like those because it's like, you can't put me in a box, like, and like there's it might be close, but it will never be exactly right. Anyway, it was actually a really good quiz. And then she sends you this thing where you can see all of the styles. And the one that I picked the quiz popped up was actually, it was me. It was the right one. So I was like, okay. So when I talk to her on Saturday, I'm going to be like, well, what do we need to do, to make this work and just like kind of flesh it out a little bit, basically. But it has colors, it has fonts, it has a look and a feel, and it's really good. And so anyway, going to have that with her, that, consulting hour, whatever we're calling that. And then I have already, I got the bundle from Tasha because I was like, I'm not missing that 20% off. So I've been emailing back and forth with her and kind of tweaked this isn't actually part of tier 1, but also kind of worked on my keynote this week, which was a win, and tweaked it a little bit, sent it off to Connie as a rough draft. And then just also been looking at, things like my opt-in, my value offer. And I did also redo my OBM because I was like, it's good in the sense that it says what I want to do, but it just is so general. And it's like everybody wants to, you know, help women find their identity, lead them to Christ, and help them fulfill their purpose. And I was like, it's a leap from where I was, in the sense that I have a different focus now, but it still needs to be nailed down differently, and it needs to be more individual. So it's not like something that just you hear it everywhere. It needs to be more like signature me, and, you know, like just more detailed. Anyway, so I don't have it memorized yet, but I did change my OBM, and I don't know that it's the final draft since I've gone through so many, and, you know, that's how we roll, but it is better. It's a lot better. So that was a good win too, just because I feel like, okay, I'm a lot closer, like I'm getting there. And some, well, with style and everything, with the website, all of that stuff, it's like one step at a time, you know, like just take the next step, the next step. So I did watch, and this is the final thing, I watched the module in tier 1 about Facebook and linking it to your Instagram and everything. And I think, I mean, I did it, but Facebook has already changed since we made that module.
Yes, I like, there's updates. I'm going through that.
It's just constant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just constantly doing that. So I looked at it and I was like, I did it right, I think, but I think I'm also missing a piece of the puzzle, because I don't think it's quite right. So I'm just going to schedule a coaching call with you, and we can go over it. And if there's, you know, whatever pieces are missing, we can just fill those in, and then I'll be good to go. But still, the toggling, you know, the toggle buttons, those are still there. I mean, it's not like nothing was the same, but yeah, it's
No, I know,
different.
it's because they switched to Meta. It's been changed. So.
Yeah. So just trying to, you know, move forward, even if it's slowly, or, you know, one little tiny step at a time. But watching Conference, oh my word, just, I mean, totally filled my bucket, like to the top and overflowing. Love that. And I think it just really gave me the mojo to be like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep doing it, you know, and just keep going forward. And it was so, I just love Conference. And it really, like I already had a certain amount of time set aside to be used for this. But when I went into it, it was just like, I had this, you know, what do you want to call it? Just really high energy feeling of, okay, let's do this, even if it doesn't work. Aha, because, you know, I just watched Conference. So just saying.
Love that. Thank you. Taylor, did you?
Yeah, I guess my mind, it's kind of done, but I realized like this week that I've kind of like been working on this before I joined the DTLC, like backwards. And so once I finished the Foundation 5, like I already have like a lot of the hard stuff like done. And so like previously, like, so I was trying to think of like ways to get like income coming in. So I had already like, I've almost got already done like a gratitude journal that I was gonna put on like KDP Publishing. So I was like, oh, that could be like an opt-in. And I've already like started working on like a logo. And I've got like half a website finished that I started. And so I'm like, oh, like I have been doing this like all along. I've just been going backwards. And it's just like this stuff that's like hard to me and doesn't like click in my brain for some reason.
That's huge. I was just gonna say that's huge. You already have like when you realize you have all these pieces already, and now you're just getting your strategy. That's
and so it's like it's the other things that I'm kind of like, I don't know, tech savvy but not tech savvy, and so the online stuff isn't like that like crazy for me, but like I don't know, the stupid outcomes and solution is like think I'm just so tired that
Yeah.
my brain is like, I've had it.
And you might also be, sometimes we overthink it. I know, like,
I'm really bad at that.
and that's what we just need to sit down. That's what I did with Angie yesterday is we quickly went through everything that she'd kind of gone through with Connie. And we went through her member vault and just like, here's where you fill this in, fill this in, fill this in. Right. And you are so close. When I was reviewing your solutions and stuff, I can reply back. And I don't know if you saw those or not, but that's the other thing is you're able to go, you are so close. It's just like making sure we get that down. The whole reason for that is just to make sure that when you go through everything, it all aligns. That way your messaging stays on brand.
That like I feel like I know this is so important that I'm like, oh, it has to be perfect. And so I so overthink it.
Yeah. And that's why I live like we can easily go, okay, I've got this gratitude journal. Like I'm looking this, I'm so excited because about what we're gonna just quickly talk about today. I love this. So here's what I would love for each of you to do. And Drusha, I found yours because you sent it to me. Angie, do you have yours handy or do I need to pull it up? I'd love to hear each of your one big messages. What, as it stands today, where are you at with that? And here's what I want you to know. I'll put this in the chat if you can see it and yeah, I figured she left, but she's meeting Raylene. So your one big message, your 3 outcomes, then let's do 3 pain points, if you know what they are. 3 pain points and ideal life. And then where you are with the signature solution. And that's that 3-step process. And if you're like, oh, that's where I'm stuck, that's where we'll see. So where are you at with, so do you have, and your audience avatar, just briefly. And I saw that you sent it to me. That was perfect. The way you sent it, that's great.
So I was like, I don't know if you really want it or not, but you said it. So
yeah, it's either so that we have an idea of what that is. You either, fill it out, but by sending it to me that I can save that and say, okay, oh yeah, this is her audience. This is who we're reaching. Right. So if both of you will pull that up and then we're just going to run through those super quick and we don't have to go into detail to say, okay, my one big message is this. Think these are my outcomes and then we can tell you usually your outcomes are within your one big message. So does that make sense? I can help. I was going to see if I had I was going to look and see if I had what's her name's Angie's from yesterday, so I could give you an example because she had hers and it's funny when I go to find it and it's like not showing up. Okay. But either way, okay. Do you have yours up? Do you want to share it?
yeah, I'm a faith-based speaker who teaches enduring women how to expand emotional resiliency through effectively using spiritual tools, finding support with like-minded women, and to seek and expect miracles as they increase their capacity to navigate adversity. It's like, and I meet with Connie on the 10th, I think, to work on that more. So
yeah, so pulling out of there, then what do you have are your 3 outcomes?
I wrote them down in front of me so I can. Open and ready to receive a daily refresher, reach out and give support, and then seek and expect and be grateful for miracles.
Yeah, so that's what your women will get, right? That will, yeah. Okay, awesome. And then what are 3 pain points that your audience has? What are 3 things they struggle with right now?
I know feeling overwhelmed is one. I don't know where
do they feel alone? Maybe like they feel overwhelmed. Think about your outcomes. Like if they don't have a circle, it's maybe They're trying to do
Yeah.
everything on their own.
Yeah, loneliness, not supported. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then your other one, which was about miracles, maybe it's what would be something that could be a pain point with that?
Like,
Are they depressed? Are they,
yeah, press are like lacking faith. I don't know how to say that. Like not feeling spiritually fed. I don't know.
okay. So yeah, I feel like maybe,
Depression, depressed.
yeah. So if you're saying like, maybe it's, I don't want to say spiritually starved, but it's maybe just kind of that disconnected, spiritually disconnected, or
or just disconnected in general would be good.
I think that's good. Like connected with, because they're disconnected with the community. They're disconnected with, right. So, okay, perfect. So then their ideal life, which is going to sound a lot like their outcomes, but okay, so we go from here, from feeling lonely, depressed, disconnected, unsupported. Now we take them from there to where? Where do they come? They feel their ideal life. They have a community, right? They have a community of women. What's another one they have?
Yeah, so community belong. They have healthy habits.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, that, and then maybe the ideal life, you have this gratitude journal. So that could be that they, like you said, they see miracles and daily joy, right? That's one of yours to say they can find joy in any circumstance is kind of what you were saying, right? Joy through you have a specific way you say it and I love it, but
I'm just bad at putting it into words when you're like, oh, what's their like vision? I'm like, I don't know.
And that's okay. You're just saying like, and how we do is we take where you were and then where you are now, right? Like you're able to find the joy in the daily life. You're able to find, you're now connected with like-minded women. Does that make sense? So
okay,
like
yeah,
where you were and where you are now, like, and that's where you're bringing your people, right?
okay.
Does that make sense? You're taking them from where you were to where you are now. Does that help a little bit with that?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I just go blank when people ask. Like it literally, like my brain, literally, like nothing.
I know. I get that sometimes too. I totally do. When you ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. What does that mean?
like literally nothing. On every question, you'd be like, "What's your favorite food?" Nothing.
Do I eat? Yes. Everything. Put it in front of me. I'll tell you if I like it or not. Right? It's like that kind of thing. And that's okay. That's why I help you through. And you've had a lot going on. You've had a lot going on.
It's been a really like crummy week. I'm like, it's gonna be better. There were still like good points and we got through it. But I was like,
and so in this crummy week, all those pain points, right?
I was like, God is like, do these work? Do they?
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, right. Am I really? Yeah. So that's those pain points in that ideal life, those three things, right? Like, and it could be more, but that's just going to give you an idea of, because you really want people who are like, that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm really looking for that. I mean, I'm loving the quote right behind you about success is more attitude than aptitude, right? That's exactly what your ideal life is, that it's all about that attitude shift, right?
Yeah. So all these black walls was supposed to be, this was just supposed to be black, like the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And I had that. And then I came home and my husband was like, look what I did. It's like, oh, it's a cave.
like, oh wow, yay, like, all right, it's a dark room.
And I was like, oh, now I gotta figure out how to make this like not a cave.
right pink flower. I would be the one that's like, get your neon fluorescent pink and put it up there. That would be me.
Right. I'm like, we're gonna get some fun bright colors.
Yeah, right. We gotta cover the black. Yeah. Bless his loving heart.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
So now I
Okay.
kind of leave it because it's my fun story.
Love it. I love it. Okay. And your audience avatar, who are you reaching?
Oh, I gotta find it. I was like, I mailed it to you. But I'm women 25 to 50.
Okay. Are they Christian based? Are they
Yeah,
Not
Christian based.
Christian based? Okay.
Looking for support. Like I got my binder here.
Well, that's okay. I just wanted that overview. So we're looking at women 25 to, did you say 35? 55?
50.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 25 to 50, they're Christian based. And that just kind of gives us an idea of like, okay, this is who I'm reaching, right? And you're also talking, am I doing the everyday woman? Am I doing the entrepreneur woman? You know, and if you're like, no, it's the everyday mom type thing, then does that make sense? Like there's a difference
Okay.
between that versus like a mompreneur, right?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, moms with like going through like hard things on top of like a mom.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I love that. So we're a mom in the thick of it, right? In the thick of
Yeah.
everything. I love that. And dealing with the hard. I love that. Okay. And then your signature solution, that's what you're working on right now, is figure out what that process is, right? So
but, yeah,
I wanted, do you feel like you're getting close to that? Or
yeah,
still
I
playing with
just
that?
need to, like make an appointment with you to figure out how to like word it.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. That would be great. I would love to do that. And of course, you can always email it to me or text it and say, you know, in WhatsApp and say, this is where I'm at. But feel free if there's not a time, but I would love for you. I have plenty of time this week. So feel free to schedule an
And
appointment.
then this is like, I feel like I'm overthinking this too, but are Fridays, are those just like open hours? Are those like,
Oh, does it still
like
have
office?
office hours down there? I don't really have office hours. I used to do like Thursdays were open office hours for you to just hop in and hop out.
Okay.
But just set an appointment
Okay, perfect.
because in that way, you know your schedule and I'm scheduled. And then, but it's any appointment is fine. If you're like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to need 20 minutes or I'm going to need 45. But typically, sometimes we go 20. And if there's no one after you, sometimes we can go longer if we need, if it works out for you. So,
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
yeah. So go ahead and just like, and if none of those times on my schedule work, just text me and say, do you have another time? Here's where I'm free. And just kind of give me a couple times that work for you. Because I'm typically flexible, if that makes sense. So.
Okay, sounds good.
So, but yeah, I'd love to be able to work on that with you. And then I love that Drusha, let's see, and then we'll talk about the service offer staircase here in the last 5 minutes or so, just kind of review what that looks like. But you're going to be, I'm a Russian gymnast, me. No.
You said you were flexible, and it's the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, yeah, you're totally flexible. So
Yeah. Not with that. That's funny. So Drusha, I'm going to read. I love Drusha's. Okay. So Taylor, sorry, I just kind of jumped. Are you feeling good? Like, so we'll meet and we'll talk about a signature solution. Just write down what you have, and it's okay if it feels scattered, because sometimes it's just writing it all down and then kind of coming back together on that. So,
and sometimes it's more of a feeling because you know how it feels. That's why it's hard to put into words. So it's
Yeah.
okay that you get there, like, you know, like it's kind of like jumping, like,
Oh.
okay, I can put this into words now. Okay, here's some better words. Okay, better words. Because I'm doing the same thing. Like I know I know what I'm doing and I know how I want it to feel, but articulating that, it's like, so I'll say it and I'll write it down and then I'm like, that's great. And then I'll look at it later and I'll be like, oh, so then I'll rewrite it. And it's like, okay, I'm closer to what I want to do. And you know, it's one step at a time.
Oh,
So-
that's good to know.
yeah. And that's it. It's just kind of like getting it out, and then we're going to help you like clear it, you know, like make it clear. So let me give you an example. I'm going to share Angie's of what she came up with yesterday. And this was, So I'm going to read her one big message. It says, I design Christ-centered events, teaching the sisters and young women of the church to clear, cleanse, and clarify their lives, not only leaving them feeling peace, meaning, and love, but empowering them to be the woman God sent them here to be, right? So you know exactly what she's doing, like, you know, who she's reaching, what she's doing, and how she's doing it, and what they'll get from it, right? So those are outcomes. So then we just took that and she's like, okay, now what are my outcomes? And I just took it straight from her thing, which was that they're getting peace, meaning, and love, and empowering them to be the woman of God sent them here to be. Do you hear those outcomes? And then her one big thing is she's doing events and retreats. And then her audience avatar was easy, right? Sisters and the young women of the church, right? And then we went through her pain points and ideal life, but her signature solution is right there. It's to clear, cleanse, and clarify. But then we talked about, well, what does clear mean? Well, they're going to clear the trauma that they've gone through. Then they're going to cleanse through They're going to cleanse through repentance. They're going to cleanse their relationship with their Heavenly Father through scripture study and prayer. Does that make sense? And then they're going to clarify by cleaning out anything that obstacles to move forward in faith, spiritual, physical, mental, healing, body, mind, soul. So, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but you hear that? Like, she's like, okay, this is what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you have those things. Like, I've seen some of your lists of like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And so it's the same thing. I know that, like Jerusha's been working on hers as well. Like, she's got, when she sent me her opt-in, oh, I have this great idea for an opt-in. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got your signature solution here. Now we're going to take your opt-in and make it one of those. Does that make sense? So as you just start writing down like what you have those steps, which I've seen you start writing down in Member Vault. That's what we'll do and figure that out. Does that make sense? Okay. So you've got more than you think, right? Sometimes we're like, do I have this? I'm like, no, it's there. It just might be that we want to get a little more clear on it. And so when you take it to Connie and say, okay, this is where I'm at. And believe me, she'll come back and she'll like, oh, this, and this. And you're like, oh, got it. Do you know what I mean? She's really good at that. So I'm going to help you get some steps as you prepare to meet with her.
Oh, perfect.
Makes sense. So I love that. And Trisha says, yeah, sometimes it's there and you just don't even recognize for what it is. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show just what we're going to do right now is I'm going to review the service offering tier, which is the very last step in preparing for tier 1. And this is, it's in your guidebook on that page right there, page 31, which looks like a staircase. And sometimes we'll call, do you have your staircase done? Right? And we mean your service offering tier. What you're going to hear about this is really like a marketing strategy. Okay. We're just going to help you fill it in. So I'm going to show you just a quick, what's going to go in those. Okay. And you can fill this out. I want to make sure I have it up right. Hold on. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay. So this is just an example of what your service offer tier is going to be, right? So very at the bottom is going to be your social media platform. So at the retreat, when we kind of did that quick social media match, you're going to put that in there. And you're going to say, okay, is that Instagram? Is it Facebook? A lot of times, yes, Instagram and Facebook go hand in hand. Is it LinkedIn? You know, somebody's like, no, my big thing is I'm just going to be a big stage speaker. Then you're really going to put LinkedIn on here, right? The other thing I'm going to have you write down in there is you're going to have a Facebook group eventually. You just will have a community is big. Like groups aren't going away on Facebook. Let's just put that way. So, and it's a great place for marketing. So you'll just put, okay, on your bottom page right there, you're just going to put in right there, whatever that social media platform is. Okay. And then you're going to move up to your opt-in. And the opt-in, and Connie talks about this, there's a 5-minute video in the Foundation 5, which describes this super well. But the opt-in is basically your Costco sample, we're going to call this your free download. It's a lead magnet. It's a little freebie. And basically what it is you're saying, hey, I've got, a 3-step solution to do this, or 3 ways to find joy in your life. Sharusha's, I think, right, is yours is the daily disconnect, like how to daily disconnect every day, right? And she's going to walk them through how to do that. Basically, you're going to give them a free gift. And the whole idea of that is we call it an opt-in because they're opting in to your newsletter. They go straight to your newsletter. It's basically them giving permission to say, I like what you have. I want more of what you have. And I'm going to take what you have for free first. Okay. That's why we call it the Costco sample, because it's free. And like, oh, do I like that? Yeah. Now I'm going to do more of that. And I'm going to get your newsletter. Okay. So on the opt-in, what we can do is we'll go through, come up with some ideas, but you don't have to do that now, but you'll just like, okay, this is a free download. Then your newsletter will talk about how to get that going and why you need a newsletter. And number one reason is it comes directly to their inbox and it's your list. They've basically just said, here's my name and number, contact me, right? And then the next thing, so all of these things are free up to this point. Then we get to your value offering. And in this value offering, what in the DTLC, the 2 value offerings that we really talk about are going to either be an ebook or a course, right? And so with that being said, Taylor, you just said you have a gratitude journal you've been working on. There's your value offering, right? And this is anywhere from like $5 to $100. Do you know what I mean? It's just a low hanging fruit that somebody says, yes, I'm going to buy this from you. Does that make sense? So, and we go through the DTLC and we do those 2 things. And then you have your one big thing. This might be a subscription community. It might be an event or a retreat. This might be speaking. It might be a full-size book, right? Whatever that is. And I know in your case, Taylor, you talked about having eventually maybe a community, right? Or a course, right? So it could be that. Jerusha, what's your one big thing right now?
That's a good question. I'm sitting here thinking about it, and it's like I really want to write because I enjoy writing, and I know at some point there's going to be a book. I just know that.
Yeah.
But I keep feeling this pull to speak.
Okay.
So,
and yours might be something like that, whether it's a retreat or speaking. You also will have, I know, Jerusha, you're going to also have a coaching call or something in there. It might be coaching, a coaching program. Who knows what it is, right? So, but those, I mean, I say who knows, I mean, there's options here. And then you're going, okay, what's this last thing for? Well, this is, as an example, on ours, we have our social media right here, right? We have Facebook link. Connie has a lot because she's been in business for 25 plus years, right? So she's got a lot of social media platforms. We have several opt-ins. We have the mini life plan. We have the 5-day challenge. You will be able to learn how to do a 5-day challenge eventually. That is something that we'll do. But in tier 1, we really focus on getting a freebie download, and then we can do a challenge as well. But the first one is making sure you just give them something simple and quick. Okay. And then Connie has her newsletter, her value offering. She has her courses, right? She's had all these little courses. And then her one big thing, she has retreats. And then over here, she has her Disciple Thought Leadership Circle, right? We call this like a growing staircase because we're going to get the simple things, but it's going to contract, expand. I was like, contract, doing the wrong way. Contract, expand as we go through because it's growing. So we kind of leave this here and go, okay, Heavenly Father, what is it? You know, is there something more? But this just gives you an idea of where we're starting. Okay, in your guidebook. So basically what we want you to do to finish off Foundation 5, after you get your signature solution, you'll just start filling this in with maybe some ideas of what you have. Is it okay if this changes after you turn it in? Yes. Okay. Are we going to work through it? Yes. The idea is you get that. And then when we do our tier 1 deep dive, we look over that and say, okay, is this aligned with your one big message? Does this hit the outcomes and the signature solution that you're offering? Okay. So that's basically what that is. So I'm going to encourage you this week to watch it's 5 minutes. I watched it this morning. It's a 5-minute video on the service offer tier, and fill this out and then send it to me. Okay. That's that. Super easy. If you're like, hey, I don't know what this is, that's okay. We're going to come back and discuss it. So are there any questions on that? Taylor, any questions on that, or Jerusha on that service offer tier? Okay. So if you need ideas as you're looking at opt-ins in your retreat guidebook on page 61, there are ideas of opt-ins that you could do, even if you don't have it in mind what you're going to do. So you could be like, oh, I want them to do a discovery call with me. You could even do a 1-page gratitude, from your gratitude journal, Taylor. You could do something like that. Or it could be, it could be 3 weeks, or a download of how you can be supportive, right? How you can support the women in your life, key phrases to say or not to say, right? Does that make sense? Like, how come your kid is wearing the same shirt to school every day? But, right. But do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. When I was going through, so an example is I have done angel boxes before. I think I talked about this last time, to grieving parents. And that would be my value offering, because it's about $30, anywhere between 30 and 50, depending on what shipping is. Okay. That's a value offering. But just below that, my opt-in, that I was like, oh, one day I sat down while we were in DTLC, and this opt-in came to me of 20 things you could do to celebrate your child, on the anniversary of their passing. Or I also have a list of 20 things you could do to support somebody who's lost a child, to remember them. Does that make sense? So like things that I'm like, oh, these are great things that you can do for people. Because that's what people always come to me and say, what can I do for somebody? And I'm like, well, here's a whole list of things you could do. Why not offer that for free? Or what are things that I can do to celebrate my child on their anniversary of their passing? Boom. Like that. Just, does that make sense? Like that's an easy opt-in that's free. I can give it to them. Okay. So that's what I just wanted to share that with you. So I've got my social media page where I had one once called Angels Forever Among Us. Then I don't have an opt-in, but that would be the opt-in I do. And then I could send out a newsletter, and then I'd have my value offering of angel boxes for themselves or to send others, which I've had people do both. And then eventually I thought, oh, it'd be cool to have a healing retreat, right? And I would actually be focused specifically on couples, because I know the stats of couples staying married after losing a child is really low. And I'm like, no, there's a way to do this, And so does that make sense? That came to me once. I'm like, well, what could I do? And that would be my staircase. Does that give you an example? Okay. So hopefully, but don't feel like you have to be like, don't worry about the how that's going to do. We're just talking about the what right now. Just putting this down, have an opt-in, a download for this. Okay. So, and it can change. Ask Jerusha, hers has changed. So a couple times, but it's all good. So that would be your assignment this week, is to wherever you are in your Foundation 5. So that, or getting your service offer tier. And I would, or if you're like on tier 1, Jerusha's on tier 1, she's working on her opt-in. I would love to see, Jerusha, what you have so far, where it is, if that makes sense. So wherever you're at, send it to me. And the other thing I want to encourage that came to me is, let's set up a time to meet, and then to help you get through tier 1. Anybody who wants it, I'm happy to meet like on a recurring weekly basis for a little bit, for about 20 minutes. We just do a 20-minute thing, give you one thing to work on and help you move forward. Would that be helpful for you? Would that be helpful? Taylor, would that be helpful for you? Okay.
Yeah, but
okay. So once we meet, pick a time this week. I'll put my link in the thing, pick a time. And then when we meet, we'll say, okay, it doesn't have to be that same time every week, but we can pick a time at that meeting and just say, okay, now what time will work for you? And then it's that rock. And if for some reason it comes up that you can't meet, then that's fine because life happens and that's okay too. And then the weeks we can't meet, we'll do Marco Polo. If that makes sense. Okay. Does that sound good? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So wrap up. Sorry, it's 11. I just want to, before we go, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just, or a minute or less, to fill out that, set your weekly goal. And then we will meet back here next week.